Could my kid sleep in his crate with him? 100%,
Right.
without a doubt. But
But they
I
have
built
boundaries.
such a wall in their
Mhm.
mind that they know, because this can transfer to other animals too, and they know that they can't even act this way to other people's animals. They can't even put their head in his crate to give him a kiss. I know that sounds so stupid. It's so like, "Mom,
Yeah.
really?" I'm like, "No, really. Yeah." Because that's how we act, because that is the rules around a dog. Do
Right.
not, if you wanna give him a kiss, call him out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Call him out. He's gonna listen. He's gonna gladly come give you a kiss,
Right.
but you don't get to go in there.
Welcome to NWA Connie Corso's podcast, where we talk all things dogs.
Welcome back. This time we got Miss Pam. What's going
Hello.
on? How you doing?
How's it
All right.
going?
It all is well. All is well. Ripping and running and ripping.
Same. I actually brought my pen and paper because I'm so used to hosting.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I was in podcast mode, so I don't need to take notes.
Well, let me start out by saying very good podcast with Justin Rigney, Tony, and Whitney. Very, very good, enlightening podcast. So if they don't know you, you could tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, what would you like to know? Everybody's like onion, right? We're on lots of layers.
Yeah.
So where do we
Well,
start?
well, it's a dog channel,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
so you're known
So where
for
do I fit
Baymax.
in, right?
Yeah, Baymax to Connie Corso. Yeah.
Yep. So, I guess by YouTube and Instagram, I would be Baymax, the Cane Corso,
Mhm,
Scandifio, Cane Corso.
mhm.
So, Baymax is my Corso. I guess, I don't know, am I a first-time dog owner? Corso owner. I've owned dogs for a long time.
Mhm.
And that's kinda how I'm in this space, right? That's how I met
Mhm.
you,
Yeah.
was because I was looking at the Corso, had a not great Corso, and then I was talking to you, and then I met Tony, and
Mhm,
here we are.
mhm.
And I like
Why
the
Connie
online
Corso?
space. Mhm.
Why'd you want a Connie Corso?
So, I wanted a Corso because they look really cool. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I mean, there is a really cool factor about them, right? So, I guess I wanted a Corso. Growing up, I always wanted, like, a Dogo Argentino,
Mhm,
and I was really into those dogs. My friend and I, at, like, 10 and 11 years old, we couldn't have dogs for a long time of ourselves, so we would walk other people's dogs, and we
mhm.
had this dog walking company called
Oh,
her name's Sarah, still one of my best friends to this day. She actually got into showing dogs for a long time. Um, and it was Pam. So it was Super Pup S&P dog walking. So we
oh, that
started
was
doing that at like 9, 10, 11 years old so we
yeah.
could get experience with dogs.
Okay.
And we kind of fell in love with like Dobermans and, pit bulls. And I kind of really loved the Dogo Argentino. That was kind of like my dream breed or whatnot.
Mhm.
So anyway, fast forward now in my 40s, and there wasn't a kind of Corso that we knew about back then. I'm not young.
Right.
And so, it just always drew my attention. I like
Mhm,
a I like a large, impressive breed.
mhm,
I always did love, like, the look of Dobermans and things like that. When my husband and I discussed a breed, he is not the dog person. That would be me.
mhm.
But he likes a large dog. So we had a dog together before, but it was just like a rescue dog that we raised together in our 20s. But we were looking at a breed and we come across a couple Corsos and I thought those look really cool. But we looked into like English Mastiffs and, really big, just big dog.
Mhm.
I don't I'm pretty athletic, and I needed something to be able to keep up with me, but also be able to kinda chill at home too.
Right.
So, that was 2 sides of it. So, I'm like, This is an athletic mastiff. Let me dig a little further, kind of looked around for, I would say, like 5, 6 years before I seriously looked into getting one. So I
Mm,
kind of had an understanding of surface level of what they were kind of about,
right.
as far as,
Mhm.
can I walk with this dog 3, 4, 5, 6 miles? Can I hike with this dog and feel safe? Is it going to be good for my family and my home? I have young kids,
Right.
old enough to help train. So that's kind of why I chose the Corso and went down that route. We looked at Rottweilers, all of the things, but we just kept going back to the Corso. And that's
Right.
right.
So, and you're talking about a lot of activities, looking for a dog that can handle the activity, that
Mhm,
had the size
mhm.
and things like that, because you are heavy into the fitness world. I mean, heavy.
By trade,
Oh,
I come from the fitness space. Yep, yep.
yep. Professional
Um,
coach, gym owner.
mhm. Yeah.
I didn't know your husband was as involved as he is just 2 or 3 minutes ago. Like, I didn't know that. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
it's
we
all
are
fitness.
definitely all-encompassing,
Mhm,
fitness, lifestyle, and I think that's also where I felt like a Corso, I could, I guess, as much as I knew before I had one, that I could
mhm,
handle one because I knew they needed structure, I knew they needed consistent training, all of things that I love, and I just felt like they kind of fit. So, yeah, my husband owns a CrossFit gym, he's a owner and head coach for 15 years. Him and I actually met in a powerhouse gym. I was bodybuilding in my 20s and he was powerlifting, and that's where we met. So, it's a gym bro story there.
You always been an athlete?
Um, so fun fact, I know this is a dog podcast, but you and I like to talk
Alright.
about a lot of other things too.
Yeah,
And this is where, Tony Scandy, he's an athlete too, so I think we all
yeah.
kinda get along from the athletic standpoint, right?
Mhm,
Um, I joined a gym when I was 13 years old, basically to keep me out of trouble. I played sports in high school, was never really that good, but I figured out through sports that I really loved to work out and I loved to coach.
mhm,
So, I joined a gym at 13, kinda dabbled around a little bit. 14, I would read bodybuilding magazines, kind of fell in love with, like, the aesthetics of it, and I
mhm,
thought I could do that, and, then it's kind of where it kinda took me. It really kind of gave me a focus, where I wouldn't otherwise have, and I competed for a long time after that, like, started training when I was 18 for bodybuilding shows and
mhm,
competed during my 20s, all of my 20s, and nationally, it took me places in the country that I never would have had the opportunity to visit had I
mhm.
not been competing in bodybuilding. Figure, really, but bodybuilding. Yep,
Right.
and I was a judge for a long time, and so, yeah, that's kinda where it led me. I wasn't like an athlete from the sense of, like, I was a runner or I played, like, college sports or anything, but I just
Mhm,
really fell in love with exercising, working out. It really kept me away from drinking and smoking because I knew I needed to feel my body a certain way to look a certain way and to
mhm.
feel a way athletically and performance-wise. And it really, really shaped me for who I am today. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, cool.
That's
Um,
where the structure comes from, and that's, again,
yeah,
where a Corso can fit in because, they're structured and they like, cut and dry and, yeah.
yeah, and, the mental toughness, because you in a
Mhm.
oh my god. You entered a tough industry for his, podcast, especially with Tony, and so you got to have some mental fortitude, and see, I see where that's why I like to get the background of people because you can see where some of their strength lies
Yeah.
in because the dog world, it's a different world for sure, for sure.
It is, and
Yeah,
I have got Baymax into, and, as a side note, it's something fun, I like to show Baymax in dog shows and see how he does,
mhm,
and, it's not my whole life or anything, so
right.
people on the internet don't like my dog, I really don't care.
Well, now,
Um,
yeah, you know,
it doesn't matter to me, I love him.
my dog.
But but I always joke and I say it's bodybuilding for dogs, so some people get very up in arms about their dogs, and I get it 'cause I love my dog,
Oh,
don't
yeah,
get me wrong,
right.
but my dog can't help who he is, it's a little
Mhm,
different. Uh, I competed in my 20s on stage to be judged for my body in a bikini that could fit in the sandwich bag.
right.
I was actually asking to be judged for my body. So,
Yeah,
it builds up a lot of walls for you, and you
yeah.
just don't care.
Yeah,
You know,
right,
I
right.
there's not a lot that bothers me when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I
Right.
think that's probably where you see that a little bit too. Builds
Well,
a
good.
lot
That's
of thick
something.
skin.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's something that somebody gonna get something from that to learn just in life. That some stuff we just got to let it go off your back and just keep moving.
You do.
Um,
You're not
let
gonna
me
please everybody.
yeah. Let me ask you this. What was the first 24 hours with Baymax like?
The
You
first
remember?
24 hours,
Yeah.
I don't know, just not that hard, I guess. You know, we traveled to Ohio to get him. It was very
Mhm,
exciting to get him.
mhm,
You know, if anybody goes to Baymax's YouTube, they can see the story of, you know, why I have Baymax, but we had a Corso puppy before, and getting Baymax was like our last chance for a Corso. We
mhm.
thought really long and hard before we got him because we had to take our other one back, and it was very heartbreaking, especially for my kids. I didn't
Mhm.
wanna let them down, so we really took a chance with Tony. And so getting Baymax, my kids were a little apprehensive because of the other dog, not because they were fearful, but because they were afraid to get attached to him.
Right.
So getting him was fun, and, yeah, having him for the first one he was actually really easy, so I would say, like, he was actually surprisingly easy the first, the first 24 hours for sure. He slept in his crate overnight. I think he, I think he peed in the house twice ever his whole life. He
Right.
never pooped in his house or in the crate or anything like that, but,
Right.
yeah, so we got pretty lucky when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Now the first few months, it's a little hectic, but the first 24 hours was easy.
Right. Yeah. So I know that you got into training pretty heavy of Baymax too.
Mhm.
But what do you think about this thing about Corsos are not for first time owners?
So, I had a lot of people try to discourage me, from getting a Corso. I mean, that low key made me wanna get one more. Um,
Mhm.
but because it was almost like it's a challenge and they just see me and think whatever they want, but, maybe I couldn't handle one or what have you. Um, but, it's I think that maybe the first time dog owner possibly would probably really have a harder time. But then again, if you had a mentor and you had a trainer and you had somebody you're working closely with and you understood a little bit and you were around the dogs, I
Mhm.
mean, you can't my whole thing with that was my conversation back to somebody that would discourage me from getting one in the first place would say,
Right.
"Well, you can't have your first time without having your first time. And you
Mhm.
can't have your first Corso without having your first Corso.
That's right.
Can't be an experienced Corso owner without having a Corso to experience it with." So,
Right.
I guess for somebody that has never had a dog before and has no idea what it's like to own a dog,
Mhm.
okay, let me picture my husband. If he was just gonna go like, "Oh, that dog looks cool," and he got a Corso and didn't have me or somebody that was passionate about dogs and training, then he would have a really tough time. Yeah.
Mhm.
If he just wanted a dog to, like, hang out.
Mhm.
But if you know what you're getting into and you been around dogs before, I don't think that big of a deal as long as you are dedicated and, and the kind of work that it takes to develop a person and then a dog, I guess. I guess I don't see it as hard as some, but I can see how
Yeah.
other people might feel as
Right.
if you don't have experience with a Corso, you're gonna have a hard time. Because I've ran
Yeah.
into things for sure, but I was ready.
Okay. So what kind of hurdles did you run into with the Corso?
So, I don't think it was, like, hurdles, it was just more, and maybe it was even my life now as a mom who has a career and, husband owns a business and 2 kids that are very athletic and busy. It was
Mhm.
more and I like my own time. And I like to work out. I got my own things that I like to do. It was just kind of navigating life a little differently to make sure that, yes, we get a dog so the dog can learn to fit into our life, but the first couple of years is really teaching the dog how to be into your home. And
Right.
just me readjusting my time frame, like, okay, well, I gotta get up even earlier and I gotta figure out where he's gonna sleep to make sure that I don't, disturb the household while I'm doing my stuff and training this dog. So I think as a mom who is in charge of the training,
Mhm.
um, mostly, and kind of guiding the family, and then also teaching my kids how to have a large guardian breed and how to respect them and how to learn their body language. I think that would be the hardest part of it. So I don't think it's hurdles. I just think it's you having to be in the dog ownership part to understand. You can't just say, "Okay, this is how my life's gonna be." You have to just get the dog, and you have to, like,
Right.
figure it out. So
You gotta
just kind
figure
of
it out.
maneuvering my time so that
Uh-huh.
it doesn't take away from everything else, but
Yeah.
something has to go because I think balance is a myth. I don't think that there's balance for anybody that's super successful in any area. You know, as a podcast, right? Podcaster,
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah,
has
yeah.
to be set aside.
Right, right.
So me, I guess, figuring out what am I gonna give less time to in
Mhm.
order to tend to this dog to make sure he's the best he can be and not let him down over these, 2 year or 2. I planned out 2 years in my head, like, this dog needs 2 years of my consistent time carved out however that looks from me, and I'm not saying that you change your whole life, but there is areas, like, Whitney and I always talk about somebody has to train your dog. So for me,
Yeah.
that was the biggest thing for me to figure out, I'm training my dog. I have to dedicate time to it. What am I gonna take out? So, yeah,
Yeah.
just to
You
kind of
didn't send them
off
off.
kilter.
You
Mhm.
didn't send them off. You learned. You put in a lot of work
Yep.
yourself on learning, working with Whitney. Whitney, y'all, we talking about people, that's Milligan, Valley Canine, right?
Whitney Whitaker. Yep. So
Whitney,
she's
yeah.
mhm,
Yep, yep. So she's a tremendous dog trainer in Ohio. I
mhm, and
forget the name of the small town, but yeah, y'all can look her up.
Minerva, Ohio. She lives in a
Okay.
valley.
In the
I always
valley.
tell her, "You're my friend from the valley. I'm
Yeah,
here
yeah.
over here in Michigan."
Mhm,
But, yep, so, yeah, I did all the training myself. I had before I got Baymax, had all those courses from, DIY Canine, the Garrett Wing stuff,
mhm.
and took those before I ever had Baymax because of my other dog. So I had the kind of this
Mhm,
base understanding and just interested in dog training in general.
mhm.
And then, Whitney helped me really have confidence in fine tuning and that personal, and that's how we became friends was, through this whole process of, because I'm an athlete, right? So you give
Yeah,
me a checklist and I'm like,
yeah.
I'm gonna call you. We're gonna get on a Zoom. I'm gonna tell you what we're doing. You tell me where you see some faults, and then you tell me what to do, and I'm gonna check back in with you in a couple weeks.
Mhm.
And then we're gonna go over it again, and we're gonna go again. And then I travel to her, and so that's the level of dedication that I give to all the things that are important. So,
Right.
yeah. Mhm.
You don't
But
watch
always
much
ready.
TV, do you?
What's that?
You don't watch much TV, do you?
No, not
No.
really at all.
Yeah.
Whatever the kids got going on in the nighttime,
Yeah,
we watch, like, a lot of, like, little kids shows, but no, I have
yeah,
no
me
interest
neither.
in TV
No, me
series
neither.
at
I
all.
hadn't watched TV,
Mm-mm.
and I just watch TV on Saturday nights, usually for, boxing matches, that's about it. Um,
Yeah, the kids like it, so whatever they know I don't care what they put on.
mhm.
Yeah, I've
Right.
never been into TV, mm-mm.
Yeah, 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 I feel you. That's a good thing. Back in the day, they used to call it the idiot box.
Oh, yeah, 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 for sure. I think somebody asked me the other day, or I don't remember what it was, they were like, "What series of show are you watching?" And that's why I have a hard time having conversations with people too, because 'cause I'm like, "I don't know what's going on." And I was
Me
like,
neither.
the last time I watched a series, and not a lot of people are even gonna know what this is, like, I watched 90210. Like,
Yeah,
that's like what was that? I don't even know when that was. I was in high school, I think. So,
yeah.
that's the
Yeah,
last
I
thing
don't
I
know
watched,
neither. Yeah,
outside of yeah, just
yeah.
watching YouTube stuff.
Right, yeah, that yeah,
Yeah.
'cause yeah, we on the go all the time, so yeah, I
Mhm.
like podcasts and different
Audiobooks,
things. Yeah,
podcasts.
right,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So you got well, I had a question, but you knocked that one out. What is the non-negotiable rule in your house to keep the relationships between the dog and the family healthy?
Non-negotiables. So, I love talking to kids about, learning how to approach and be around dogs.
Mhm,
And understanding that they're animals, they're not toys, they're not, 'cause my son is like a natural dog trainer. He just is very unemotional about it, very, like,
mhm,
likes his space and not afraid to, like, he doesn't wanna, like, love on the dog. He loves the dog, loves him. But he doesn't, he's very natural with that. Where my daughter, she's like, "Oh, I want to cuddle the dog," and that's fine, and we can do that. But I had to really, really teach that the dog wasn't a baby, the dog wasn't a toy, the dog has its space. Integrate the kids into the training of the dog, but not make them responsible because it's my dog, it's my choice, right?
Yeah.
And if they want to be a part of the dog's life, then yes. And helping them understand, even my husband, I'm like, you got to understand, you got to have a little relationship with this dog. He has to listen to you. Like I can train, but we have to transfer by you doing. So it's that kind of thing. I think that non-negotiable would be me training and helping them understand who Baymax is, how to be around the dog, and how to have fun with him. It's not all serious. It's, and but to understand that it is an animal, and an animal
Mhm.
is going to be an animal, and an animal has teeth. We have a bunny and we have a cat. They both bite. They have teeth. Somebody asks, does he bite? Well, does he have teeth? Then he bites.
He bites. Yes,
They all
that's right.
bite.
Right.
Like he's not going to bite you, but you have to
Mhm.
understand. And I think that's the non-negotiables is making sure everybody, the dog respects us, and teaching the kids how to demand respect from the dog, and also helping them understand, how to live, you know, in a home with a dog of that size, and understand who he is. And just me as I'm probably a little, maybe say this tongue in cheek because I know it's a serious thing, but I'm a little OCD about how Baymax is in our home. And I put him in a crate still to he's 13 months old when I
Mhm,
go take a
mhm.
shower, because that crate training was so vital for me,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I need to know he's not running around my house, that he's
Right.
comfortable and calm in there. He can look at us doing all of our daily stuff and he's just chilling his crate. It's a cheap $70 giant crate from Tractor Supply because he's
Mhm.
respectful enough to not come out of the crate. We have a couple in our home, so I can put him, I call them our, like, holding pins. Like,
Right.
put him in that one. Um, but I make sure, that there's not gonna be any play accidents or anything like that. And I'm not saying like biting, but I mean, I'm talking eating a sock, eating paper
Right.
towel. Maybe the kids are going to step on the dog, and and
Mhm.
just all the things, so I'm just kind of damage controlling my environment. So I guess maybe that would be a non-negotiable, is to make
Yeah.
sure everybody understands their position. And I mean,
Right.
now it's very harmonious now. I mean, Baymax knows his position in the house. I would make sure that the kids walk before him, kind of thing, through the door, just very little subtle, things, and the kids now understand the importance of that, and they'll tell their friends, "Well, if he comes to you, he wants a pet," and he always does every time. 100 out of
Mhm.
100 times Baymax wants to be pet. But
Yeah.
at the same rate, all the kids know he has to come to you. If he turns his head, he's done. Baymax isn't allowed to run around outside, play football with the kids. No, he knows he
Right.
needs to park it on the deck the entire time, because he's not running around with kids, because
Yep. But
they're little people and they're fun, and he's a
I
puppy.
agree.
He's a
Yeah.
giant dog. Outweighs
Giant
me
dog.
now.
Yeah.
And so I think just kind of teaching, that's a non-negotiable. That's a great question. Is
Mhm.
teaching the boundaries for the dog, but also teaching the boundaries for the kids, and helping them understand what powerful animal that we have in our home, and that he doesn't understand English, and that our body language matters, and that our emotions matter towards him. You can't go screaming around him
Mhm.
and expect
Mhm.
him to not, look at you like, what are you doing? And I'll tell you, having little kids around, super helpful, because Baymax could care less about stuff. He could care less. Doesn't care crying, anything like that, but that's because he's been exposed to it. So the non-negotiables would definitely be to make sure that everybody knows their boundaries, understands what we have, that we have
Mhm.
a Cane Corso living in our home.
Right.
This is a giant animal,
Yes, for
and
sure.
he is amazing, and we love him, and he's part of our family, but he
Right.
is an animal.
Right.
And there are rules, and there are boundaries, and there are, they don't stick their hands in his food bowl when he's eating just
Mhm.
'cause, no, they hand fed him, and they can, and he doesn't care if you do that, but we're not gonna go poking and prodding at him while he's
Yeah.
eating. It's just, yeah, and you don't crawl in his crate, things like that. Like,
Mhm.
that's his space. Could my kids sleep in his crate with him? 100%,
Right.
without a doubt. But
But they
I
have
built
boundaries.
such a wall in their
Mhm.
mind that they know, because this can transfer to other animals too, and they know that they can't even act this way to other people's animals. But I built such a
Ooh.
wall
Yeah.
to they can't even put their head in his crate to give him a kiss. I know that sounds so stupid. It's so like, "Mom,
Yeah.
really?" I'm like, "No, really. Yeah, because that's how we act, because that is the rules around a dog. Do
Right.
not if you wanna give him a kiss, call him out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Call him out. He's gonna listen. He's gonna gladly come give you a kiss,
Right.
but you don't get to go in there." And I know that's over the top for some people, and some people give me crap about that, but that's fine because that's again, that's transferable to other animals and other
It
areas.
is. Yeah.
Mhm.
You don't know. It's tough. Like being a small time breeder like myself, and your kids growing up around big dogs.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I don't want them. They're very comfortable, but
Yeah,
it's their dogs. I don't need
exactly.
you running out to other people's dogs you don't know
Yep.
and things like that. But so that's that's something you do got to teach kids boundaries and stuff. And like when
'Cause you
kids come
can't do
here,
that.
I
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, I don't
Mhm.
let dogs around other children. I don't need any accidents.
Yep.
You know.
And it's not like it's again, Baymax could run circles around my son playing football with his friends, and we had
Right.
30 people in our little home for
Mhm.
Halloween, and Baymax was, like, in heaven. He's like, "Yes,
Mhm.
everybody's here, all these petty paws. They just wanna pet me, and I love them so much."
Mhm.
But he knew he had to sit his happy little self down on the
Mhm.
deck and just wag his tail and watch everybody. I
Right.
could let him run around, but
Mhm.
that would open up doors for mistakes or things
Mhm.
or whatever, or it would also it would I would slip off my own boundary,
Right.
and we just keep it. We just keep it black and white. "Nope, you sit here, they play. Nope, you can't do that." And yeah, my kids know do they can't treat other animals like they treat Baymax because that's not their dog,
Right.
you know?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So
Uh,
and with other kids, like you said, when other kids come over, I like to talk to them too about it, like, "Hey, don't grab things from his mouth. If he has something, you tell me." And it's again, he's not gonna hurt anybody, but it's just
yeah.
good it's just good
Prevention.
practice.
Yeah. Um,
The big
women.
area I like to talk about, kids and
Right.
dogs.
Women with dogs like this brings a some sense of security. You think when you out by
Oh, yeah.
yourself? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. For
Yeah.
sure. For sure, and it was very cute. I actually told Tony yesterday, Baymax is just 13 months old, and I'm experiencing a lot of my first time Corso stuff, right? Because
Hmm.
you can't experience them without having one.
Right.
And, I knew a gentleman, he was actually coming over to see Baymax actually, because he's
Hmm.
kind of a local celebrity sometimes.
Yeah.
And,
I know.
and Baymax typically at any store or anything, I teach him very permission-based petting. Some like, we went to Hobby Lobby today, and my daughter was with us, and Baymax was, and it was a no pet day, because some days we go and he doesn't get any pets, and some
Mhm.
days he can have pets, because he has to have permission, because otherwise he would think the store was made for him, and he would go to everybody, and not everybody likes big dogs.
Mhm.
And so anyhow, yesterday when we saw this gentleman, and, usually Baymax is a permission-based dog. He looks at me, he waits for me to say, "Okay, do you want a pet?" And then he gets to decide if he wants a pet from that person, then he goes to them. Okay, 100 out of 100 times. Well, one time he decided not to
Mhm.
for whatever reason. I said, "Well, he doesn't want a pet." But this guy, I thought, "Well, he's just gonna," I was like, "Oh, he's not gonna bite you." Baymax really stood his ground. He wasn't fearful, he wasn't nervous or any of that. And, he said, "Are you sure?" I said, "He's not gonna bite you." And I said, "Just walk around here." And I said, "Hey, what's up?" And I started talking to the guy, and then Baymax looked at me like, "You good, mom?" "Okay, I'm good." And
Mhm.
it was a really cool, feeling of that security, and I was like, "Okay, well, I don't think you bite anybody because, like, like, they have to learn to do that kinda stuff." But it was the perfect deterrent. I joke
Right.
all the time, and I tell my husband, I'm like, "Yep, he's 135 pounds of looking the part."
Mhm.
And, yeah, there is a security for myself and my kids, and that's another reason why I wanted a Corso too, was I walk all the time, everywhere, in the summer, in the spring, hike, and I need a big dog. There is very few people that is gonna come up to me and him.
Give your dog the best start possible. We offer proven tools, products, and supplements backed by our real world experience and our passion for healthy dogs? Let's talk about your journey in fitness and how it compares to your journey in dog training. All right.
Yeah. I compare them a lot.
I mean, so one thing I would think of off the top of my head is I got a buddy of mine named John. He say skipping steps or otherwise be cutting corners. You know,
Yeah.
it probably doesn't work in dog training as well as fitness. But what are some of the things you see that's similar in both
I think
disciplines?
that would be the same as your friend. I mean, that
Mhm,
really kind of that's the base of it, right? Because
mhm,
if you skip steps in your training, whether let's say you're training for a bodybuilding competition or you're training, my husband trains a lot of athletes for a lot of different sports in this gym. If you skip steps in dog training or in fitness or in bodybuilding, if you slack on your diet or what have you, you only do one area, it will show. And you will have to backtrack and fix that. So I think that dog training is very, very similar, in that if you don't get that base, and Whitney and I talk about that all the time. All of Garrett's stuff talks about that all the time too. Is if you don't do the solid base, you will find the flaw later on because everything builds up on top of each other.
mhm.
So yeah, I'm a complete agreement with your friend in that statement. Is that you'll see it later on, and I see it in some of my training now with Baymax. I'm like, "Oh, well, I guess I didn't work on, like, doorway manners, like, I totally forgot that one," as he flies out the door to see my friend. I'm like, "Well, sorry. He's nice, but
Mm.
apparently I need to work on that."
Right.
So, I mean, I'm like, "Well, that's I see where that slipped through the cracks." So, yeah, if you skip steps, it will 1000% show. Mhm.
Let me ask you this here. Oh, that was funny. Structure creates freedom in your coaching.
Mhm.
You provide structure for clients to succeed. How does providing a Corso with a strict schedule actually make them a happier, more relaxed dog, or is that even true?
So, a schedule, of structure of schedule. So that's funny because going in, I was like, so almost because I get to I'm sure you can tell I get a little anxious.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this way, gotta do
It's
it this
okay.
way,
We
gotta go,
love
go,
you.
go, go. So Whitney always tells me I'm like a Malinois.
Mhm.
And I don't doubt that. I've never dealt with a Malinois, but I can kinda see this comparison. Um, is is I was so concerned, right? Because like you said, with bodybuilding, I'm like, "Okay, bodybuilding, I gotta get up at 4, and I gotta do this and do that, and gotta have all my meals, and I gotta have 4 ounces of this and 4 ounces of that for, like, a decade." So I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay, dog training, I got this." So I gotta have my dog up at this time. I'm like, "Oh, this is stressful," right?
Mhm.
So Whitney even talked about this too. She's like, "Okay, you can have a routine, but it doesn't have to be a schedule." I was like, "What?" Like, took the weight off my shoulders. I was like, "Okay, so we don't have to have a structured schedule." Yes, you do, but no, you don't, because you don't wanna wake up at 5 every day. So, what happens is we have a routine, right? So, Baymax wakes up between 7 and 9. That's why I love him, right?
Yeah.
He's like, "You wanna go for a jog? Gotcha. You wanna take a nap all day? I'm your guy." Like,
Yeah.
whatever you need.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
he'll sleep till 10 or he'll get up at 6 and go wherever I need to go. So, he wakes up within a time frame, but after he wakes up, here's where the routine comes in. Then he goes outside, and then he hangs out, and then a lot of times we're going to school, dropping the kids off, and sometimes
Yeah.
we're doing something. So, there's a routine, and then when he comes home, sometime after we've done some sort of activity or traveling, he gets to eat food, and then he takes a 3-hour nap
Right,
in his
right.
crate. So that's where the routine comes in, but there's no strict structure, schedule, and that really helps me because he's a very and I've made him that way, right? He's a
Mhm.
very easy flowing dog, and he has to because that's our life, right?
Right,
Because the dogs should fit into your life and not you fitting into the dog's life. And I
right,
think if we had a strict schedule, then our whole life would be trying to, like, box ourselves in for this dog, and then he's not gonna be that fun anymore. So,
right.
he has
Yeah.
been made to fit and flow. "Oh, we got a
Mhm.
baseball game? Great. We're gonna go sit
Yeah, yeah.
outside all day."
Good points, Pam.
You
Good
know?
point.
So,
Yeah.
I think that that's been a really that was actually a big relief for me
Mhm.
when I talked that over with Whitney, and I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." Like, it was like I could breathe. Okay, you're right. So we can create routine for the dog to feel comfortable and confident because he knows, here's the thing, here's where the confidence comes in. He knows that I or my husband, because it transfers, or my sister, because my sister's a big part in his training because I needed another right-hand girl just in case I have to go somewhere. My sister, he
Mhm.
loves my sister. Um, is we there's the confidence is, well, mom, dad, aunt, they're gonna make my decisions for me, so I don't really have to worry about anything. That's
Mhm.
Baymax's confidence, is that we got him and he doesn't have to make all the decisions for himself. Like, we're gonna tell him where we need to be with some sort of flow. So, yeah.
Right. You made some pet owners gonna love this because you made some very good points about pet ownership, and one of the reasons I like, no, I love the Connie Corso is it is a dog, a let's go dog. Come on, let's go,
Yeah.
and we go do whatever all day. But if you chilling, you gonna lay down. I
Yeah.
don't want no dog bouncing around me all day. Just I do this podcast and Pam. I interview so many people,
I
and
know you do.
sometimes I want to say stuff I can't, and then sometimes I just have a moment. I just say enough is enough, and I say
Right.
something because, like, some of these dudes out here sound like Rihanna, man. So work, 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 work. I mean, what do y'all expect from these dogs? I'm like, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
you
oh,
know,
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
and that's actually something else
mm,
too that, Whitney and Garrett also talk about in their pet dog training, is that
mhm,
these dogs gotta have a day or 2 off. Like, the more
mhm,
you work them and condition them, and that speaks my language, right? Because progressive overload in training, when we are getting stronger and faster and better and, and all of the things, we have to perform that over and over and over again. Like you said, work, work, work all the time and just get better and better.
mhm,
And you condition the dog to a certain level, you have to maintain that. And
mhm.
as they get older, progress, otherwise they're gonna get bored, or maybe their
Yep,
body's gonna not be as in good shape, or what have
right.
you, whatever it is. The rest days for athletes matter, off seasons for athletes matter.
Mhm,
So I just kind of really just kind of the pegs just fit for the dogs too. And I
mhm.
would probably transfer this to any breed. Of course, again, a Corso is a dog that's, yeah, cool. We're gonna sit around for 2 days. Like, my rule as an athlete, as a coach, is, don't take more than 3 days off in a row.
Right.
I would say that for my dog too, right?
Oh, yeah, you
Because
gonna
our
get set
our
behind, yeah. Uh-huh.
what's that?
You kinda set yourself behind when you do this.
Well,
Yeah.
and your body, it does need that, right?
Right.
So, your mind and your body needs that, but it also needs to be able to have an off switch for humans and dogs.
Yeah.
And your body has to know, okay, your mind can rest a day, your body can rest a day, and the dog, I've noticed too, like for him, he's good for 2 days, but then that 3rd day, I'm like, "Okay, let's do a little something." It's really cold right now, and we'll get out somewhere. Thankfully, we do have this gym and, and I can work Baymax in the gym and, and all that kind of stuff. But that 3rd day, so I would say every 3 days. But yeah, for sure, I think that, um, having him have his off days is really important because even though our family is athletic through and through,
Mhm.
we also rest very hard.
But yeah,
So,
but that's another point of the working dogs. I think people think like they got to be out herding cow, chasing pig. I
all
mean, if
day.
you working them in obedience,
Mhm.
conditioning them, that's work.
Yeah,
We live in modern times,
yeah.
and there's different forms of things to keep that dog, active.
And I
Um,
look at him too as far as, like, running back and forth in the yard and
mhm,
play a good game of tug because and he's a good dog for me, right? I'm, like, doing, like, some rows with him, like, I'm doing one-arm rows and grab something else and, he'll dig his feet into the ground, so I use him as a workout, but doing that for him also is kind of that sprinting mentality. So I do probably calculate his exercise a little bit more than maybe the average person because I'm
mhm.
thinking, "Okay, he's
Yeah.
doing this, let's do this, he's working his back a little bit,
Mhm.
do a little ups for his little core, stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I don't even know
yeah.
if that makes sense, but that's my brain.
Oh, yeah, I already know, I already know. Let me ask you about this, 'cause I gotta get into your brain a little more here. Look at here.
Mhm.
So, you got clients, they might want to quit, and you got to push them. When you got 120 pounds, I don't know how much he is, 130, maybe 130. Is it
Last I checked, he was 135, and that was like a month or
135?
so ago.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
You got
somewhere around there.
130, you got a 135-pound dog being stubborn. How do
Mhm.
you, as a fitness coach, become alpha to this dog?
So that's where you do the ground level respect, right? I don't ever
Mhm.
want him to know what he's capable of, and I yeah, I don't ever want him to know how strong he is sometimes, but, I think that's and again, this is my first Corso, but developing that relationship with him to
Mhm.
understand a little bit of pressure, the balanced training, right? A little bit
Right.
of leash pressure, a little bit of pressure of, "Hey, come on, you don't wanna get up? Well, it's time to get up," something like
Right.
that. So, it's just a little bit of pressure. I don't I food, lure, but for the for the most part, he's gonna just do it.
Right.
He might if he could roll his eyes, he 1000% would roll his
He
eyes,
was
right?
really
But but he does do it. He's like, "Ah, fine," get up kinda thing, so, no.
Yeah.
I don't really have to
Amen.
I don't really have to pressure him a whole lot. I've never had to go through anything, but again, that's because I came in, I would like to say, as prepared as possible, and
Right.
really just kind of build that baseline and have, and have Whitney there as somebody who's dealt with hundreds of Corso, and have Tony there as my breeder, and develop this community, and have you and, all of the other Corso friends that I've made through this entire journey, be able to back up on and say, "Hey," whatever. So, I don't know.
Right.
I guess I can't say that I've had any problems with that too much.
Right. All right, Pam, if Baymax could talk and give one
Mhm.
piece of advice to humans about living a disciplined, loyal life, what would he say?
Baymax. We always try to joke and figure out what Baymax's voice would sound like. We have different voices for him. If he could say what about living as a dog in a disciplined life or
Mhm.
living as a person, like
Living as a dog in a disciplined life.
um,
But
just
he'll give this advice to humans.
he would give this advice to humans. I think he would just talk about the I think he would give advice about, making sure he has rest days and going out and doing different things, and he doesn't know what things are until we show him. Make sure you take me places and let me know what those things are before you
Mhm.
expect me to respond in an appropriate way, you
Right.
know? I think maybe he would say that, because, he is a 13-month-old Cane Corso, and I have worked extremely hard, like it's my job, like I'm working overtime with him to make sure he is as exposed to every situation that I could even imagine, so that he is a well-rounded dog. And, I mean, and he still has things where he, like, side eyes, like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
"Bro, you've seen this stuff before,"
Yeah.
and it just takes, again, just that leadership and helping him understand that who has your leash when I gave because he's got his canine good citizen, right? He's done all the little tests, is
Mhm.
that when mom says, "This person that Joe, I gave you the leash, and Joe's
Mhm.
cool with me,
Mhm.
I'm on a job on this leash, and it's fine, all is well. Mom said it's fine. He's got the leash. I need to follow the things that I already know to do."
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I've
yeah.
try I I try to
Least
make it really
manipulation.
easy for him.
Mhm.
And I don't want him to make too many he has to make his own decisions, he has to choose to do but I have to show him what the right thing is first until you know what I mean? He's not gonna
Yeah,
your kids don't know what's right until you tell them what's right. So
right. We'll be remiss if we talked about, the discipline of, working out, keeping active with animals and dogs
Mhm.
without mentioning a little bit of the diet.
Yeah.
What does he eat?
So so it's funny because I was just talking to my sister about this yesterday, and, and Whitney laughs too because I don't feed raw, the dog raw. I'm not comfortable in that. I would have to be, very well versed and educated in that. That's
Mhm.
something that would never try to say that I knew anything about. I do feed kibble, and it's actually a cheaper kibble that I found. So we went through a lot of different big name brands, and he's so sensitive. He actually had to have he had to have X-rays because they thought he had an obstruction. He had bloody diarrhea from some of these big name foods.
Mhm.
And so we actually switched to one. It's called Wholesomes. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
from Tractor Supply, or the Munster brand, but the Munster brand, so here's the thing, because this is where Whitney and my sister both laughed at me. They're like, "Oh, that's so on brand of you." I'm like, "You gotta look at the calorie content. You gotta, figure out how many calories your dog needs." And I think I read and my vet said the dogs need like 30 calories per pound of weight as a growing puppy. So I would then look at each bag and then I feed a freeze-dried raw on top of it, just like a little bit for, like,
Mhm.
organ meats and whatnot.
Right.
I do understand nutrition, so I kinda just transfer, like you said, transfer that to the dog. And so I would look at the calorie content and, make sure he's getting enough. And I thought the very calorie dense foods would be great because, it's less food in a bowl with the more calories, but for him and how he is, it just actually upset his stomach more because it was too hard to digest, which makes
Mhm.
sense, it's
Mhm.
very
Mhm.
calorically dense, lots of fats and whatnot. So then the one that's a little less calorically dense, a little less per cup, seemed to do better for him. So, yeah, I just do the wholesomes and, a freeze-dried raw, switch between a couple different ones. The Munster brand has ones online, and then there's, like, the Stella and Chewy brand, and then there's, like,
Mhm.
another raw brand, and those seem to do well for him, no chicken. So, yeah, and then I
Yeah.
do, like, probiotics and stuff like that.
Okay, cool.
Um,
Yeah, you have
and
to
then the
find your
ester
food.
seed ester seed, as I
Oh,
I
yeah.
I I got that from advice from a lot of people for, like, his ears and his feet when he was a puppy, and I just kinda continued that on.
Right, right. Yeah, you had to find what works best for you.
Mhm, mhm,
Everyone can't, afford the raw.
mhm.
I got a raw dog food company coming here too to
Yeah,
discuss some of their stuff, and Imma have kibble company, so we'll be talking about all this good stuff.
yeah, and that's the thing is, like, some people get so it's just like the fitness space, right? It's almost like, fitness and nutrition, especially nutrition, is like a religion to some people.
Yes, it is, yeah.
And and I think a lot of that gets transferred to dogs too,
It
without people
does.
realizing, and it's not that big of a deal, you guys. Like,
Mhm.
this is what I feed my dog, and if people
Yeah,
ask, I suggest it, but I don't make a penny if you go to Tractor Supply and buy that bag of dog food. It
right.
matters 0 to me, but
Yeah,
this is what has helped me. So, yeah,
yeah.
and I always say, like, this is what I'm feeding him now, maybe fast forward in a year and something else
Be something
happens,
different,
and
yeah. Yeah,
you never know.
yeah. But that's
Just
kinda how
like
it is. You
nutrition.
gotta do what's best for you and your dog. I don't
Mhm.
like to force things down people,
Mm-mm.
throat like what I do. It made me kinda shun from doing, food videos, food podcasts,
Yeah.
because it was like, "I'm not telling you to do this."
Yes. It's tough because especially probably in your position because, you have different trainers on here and you have this and that, whatever, and then
Mhm.
people think you are married to that idea, and that is
Right.
not the case.
That's
Like,
not the case, yeah.
and
Mm-mm.
there's things that I pull from Whitney, there's things I pull from Garrett, there's things I pull from
Mhm,
Justin, there's things I pull from guests that you have on. I'm like, "Oh, let me
mhm.
try that." As far as
Yeah,
training. And you
yeah,
find this, like, this little mishmash of what works for you of all of these things because
you do.
you have the dog that's in front of you, you know how to communicate to that dog of what you're asking, and that's gonna look a lot of different ways for a lot of different people with a lot of different dogs.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
you
for
know
real. Yeah,
and
yeah.
so, no, what we feed our dogs and what we feed our dogs because it works, and I always just tell people, like, "This is what I use, you
Mhm.
can try it, but you gotta find what works for your dog,"
That's
It's
true.
yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, but I do
So
count the calories for sure. I was making sure he gets enough calories, but not too much because he's a big dog and I don't want him to grow
right.
too fast. And, so I definitely did some research into that as much as I could to
Mhm.
make sure that I wasn't, over underfeeding and, all of those things because I know that, the longevity of the dogs, you want to make sure that they're in a calorie range and they're not overeating. And, I don't want just a big old dog to have a big old dog.
Do you
Yeah.
do any fasting, of the dog? Any I know some people do that. I do once a week.
So, I think I unintentionally do, and,
Mhm,
I do it for myself too, right? I
mhm.
sometimes unintentionally intermittent fast, but
Oh, yeah,
sometimes I
yeah.
intentionally intermittent fast, and sometimes I unintentionally do that with my dog, but I will say that I have have always made sure, like I said, in his structure of the day, of his routine, he
Mhm.
doesn't get food until mid-morning, sometimes afternoon, sometimes 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. He won't have his first meal because we're out and about, and I know that they have a long time to digest, and I'm so just afraid that he'll have any, like, too full of a stomach, or we might go running, or he might run in a field, or I might find a park that I wanna stop at, 'cause I will stop just, "Oh, hey, that looks like a good area. Let's get out and go run." So we'll
Right.
so he doesn't eat until we're done doing, like, our shenanigans for the first part of the day.
Right.
And sometimes I'm like, "Well, he missed his eating window, he'll just eat tonight." And
Yeah.
I think, and I've noticed too, it's kind of natural for him too, if it's been a few days and we're a little less active, he doesn't eat as much. And I think it's very natural for him. I like to teach that with humans too, is kind of be very self-aware of, food freedom and understanding that, hey, maybe you don't need to eat that much that day. Listen to your body a little bit under the guidelines of this little bit of, structure, whatever. So yeah. A
So
long answer, but it's super interesting that you asked that, because I always think about that, and I'm like, "Okay, well, I
yeah.
know he fasted a little bit longer these days. Let me offer him a little food a little earlier tomorrow and see what happens."
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
I want to ask you this, as a coach, we're going to go on the human side here.
'Kay.
What is your biggest takeaway from your clients that might have something going on with food? Is it the sugars? Is it
Like,
what is it?
mentally, you mean? Like the block?
Melanie, yes, ma'am. Yeah. Right.
Um, you know, that's kind of hard because in the fitness space, that's a whole other area, right? Is the mental blocks of, it's so layered. There can be something physically going on. There can be habits built in. There can be, cultural differences. There can be all of these things that food means, and we've been taught to not listen to our body and our cues and our hunger cues and all of these
Mhm.
things, whether it's finish your plate when you're younger, or
Oh,
maybe you don't want to waste food. I come from that kind of space.
me too.
Or yeah, or because you don't throw your food away. There's starving people in another country. My response to that has always been a little spicy. My response: 7 years old, we don't have any food. We don't have a car at the time, public transportation. They're like,
Mm.
There's other people starving in other countries." I'm like, "Well, they can't have my food." Like, what's the difference? Like, they're not gonna eat my. I can't send this off somewhere.
Right.
But we have taken a lot of those natural cues away, so that's very layered. So to go into the mental side of things, it's very, very hard, and there's a lot of, like, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, that is starting to go into some of the fitness space. Mental performance coaches. One of my very best friends,
Mm.
from my competing days, actually is really big into mental performance coaching, and, that goes for student athletes, but also for anybody having these mental blocks around food. But I teach this, so I'm a director at a cardiac rehab, and it's an intensive cardiac rehab, and we take cardiac patients, and we teach them diet, nutrition, exercise, in regards to heart health, but it's overall health, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
we teach this too, that food is emotional. So
Right.
food as an addictive component is, like you said, is there sugar in there? Yeah, there's sugar and there's fats and there's all kinds of things going on. But then, like, are you sleeping enough? So it is so layered, right? So there's never one answer.
Mm.
But we teach that food can be emotional. And that's why it's hard, because food as an addictive component, like drinking and smoking, you can stop. It's hard. It's really hard to stop
Mhm.
drinking, to stop smoking. And there's lots of
Oh, yeah.
ways and pills and, therapies and things like that that can help you. But food, you have to eat to live. So you have to change your entire thought process around food, and you have to sometimes white knuckle it, but then sometimes you have to use, different modalities, medications and therapies and whatnot to get
Mhm.
past that, because you have to eat to live, and you have to change a lot of the way you grew up, or a lot of thoughts around food, or even your palate, right? So slowly but surely. So it is hard with that mental block. 99% of people are not just gonna stick to something and then just never look back,
Mm. Yeah.
There's
You
not.
said some things there, yeah. You said something cultural,
Mhm. Yep.
differences in food, and I know, like, at least in the Black community, we have, like, every community has their ailments and
Mhm.
nationalities, but I know that diet too could being that we inherit the diets of
Oh, yeah.
our cultures
Mhm.
that get us in trouble too. So yeah,
Well,
that was
that's like
good.
saying to somebody, I don't know if you know a lot about different, like, diet, modalities, like the AIP, it's autoimmune paleo diet
I
nutrition.
heard
A
of
lot
the
of people
paleo.
a lot
Yeah.
of people well, it's autoimmune paleo, AIP, so it's actually for
Okay.
people with, like, autoimmune conditions, so a lot of these people try to eliminate all of these things. It's kinda paleo, but then, like, you take away, like, corn and this, that, and whatever, and you can't tell people from some cultures they can't eat corn. Like, that's a huge part of their culture of
Hmm.
food. Or you can't tell, even with different things, like, I always drank milk, with my meals. I think that's
Hmm.
a little outdated, but some people still do it. Well, you gotta find a way to incorporate that milk in a different way or maybe, change it a little. So there's things that are emotional or set and ways that they can't change, and you never wanna take away somebody's fun, like, if they're trying to not eat sugar, but then they have grandma's pie coming in Thanksgiving, and they're like, "Well, I just won't go to Thanksgiving." No, eat the pie, because mentally, it's a lot more fun for you in that community to be a part and feel that love and that warmth of that pie and the smell and all the things, and, how it reaches your brain and all that stuff, to eat that and to enjoy it and to let yourself have that and then go back to what you were doing before. Because people just wanted I always wanna be perfect, especially to a fitness coach, nobody wants me to walk by them in the grocery store, and they think I'm looking in their cart. Like, they're, like, going down the aisle the other way.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, here come Pam.
Yep, yep, yep. Me and
Yeah,
my husband both, they're like, "Oh, well, I have the grandkids over," and we're like, "It's fine, you can eat Little Debbie's if you want." I told
yeah,
you.
right.
So there's so many components. I always suggest if somebody's having trouble with a mental block with food, take pictures of what you're eating, write down when you're eating, look at the sleep, and then just hire a coach because that's really what a lot of online coaches, especially too, are there to
Yeah,
help you figure out you and what works for you because
right,
your life looks different than mine and your
yeah,
needs and wants are different than mine, you know?
right.
So it's a tough space because that's the one thing, right? That's the thing that stops everybody is just that mental block, whether it's around food or exercise or both, you know?
Yeah, for sure, for
So
sure.
it's a tough space because there's never one answer for that, but you have to look at the big picture
Gotcha.
of it all. Mhm.
Right,
Dogs don't
right.
have that problem, right? Dogs, you just give them what's in front of them, and if they don't eat it, then they just get hungry and eat it tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, for real, for real.
'Cause I could
Um,
easily create a picky eater with my dog if he didn't eat, "Oh, there's still a little beef in there." Then,
right,
then he's gonna
yeah.
learn, "Oh, well, if I don't eat anything, then she's gonna put a little cheese on my food." You know? So
Yeah, yeah. Well, Pam, let me ask you this, and then we're gonna get out of here. Um, one
yeah, this
thing
stuff
you
I
would
could talk about all day, right? All
yeah,
day.
yeah, I know, right? But hey, we're gonna send them to your channel so they can get some more of it, right?
Come on over. Yep.
Yeah. So, what will you tell the first time enthusiast or pet owner who's considered getting their first Connie Corso today?
What would I tell them?
Yeah, any
I
advice? Mm,
I would 100% tell them to get around the breed of choice that you're looking at. If you
mhm.
are looking at a Cane Corso, go find some Corso, go find some to be around, look at the size. I did. Look at take your kids around them, see how big they are. Get around some good ones, go visit kennels, Of course, we all know I got from Tony, but, he'll
Mhm.
tell you
Tony's
to
Candy. Yeah.
go to all the go to all the kennels, go to Joe's kennels, go
Mhm.
make sure that you understand what the dog is going to look like on a day-to-day basis as an adult dog, all the things, and also think about the size of the dog that you want. And this is we're talking about all breeds right now, right? The
Yeah.
size of the dog you want, what that dog kind of was originally bred for, but just like you said, we're in 2026. A lot of dogs, even from the 1800s, they're not doing all the same things, but understand what they were originally bred for. You know, understand training to some degree, but really look at your life now and think about what is your picture of a dog in your life, in your day-to-day life, and how's that going to fit in, and who's going to take care of the dog when you're gone. I have a 135-pound Cane Corso. I got denied by 2 veterinary offices and 2 dog, like, boarding, not daycares, but, like, if
Yeah,
I
right
needed
on
help
a
during
good
the
one.
day,
Mhm.
because even as an 8-week-old puppy, and it was my first kind of wake up, and I thought, "Well, joke's on you because this is the most well-behaved, well-trained dog you'll ever meet." In my head, they have no idea, but understand and think about who's gonna take care of your dog. So, like I said, my sister is a part of Baymax's training because I know that she is one person that I can rely on, that I trust with my dog. And so and because not everybody can take care of your dogs, right? Not everybody's gonna come over your house and take care of all your dogs if you leave. That's a big deal.
Mhm.
So
That's a big
think
deal.
about that. So as a pet owner, think about, okay, what's my life look like for the next few years? Is now an appropriate time to get a dog? I wanted a dog 6 years ago. I didn't get one. My kids were too little. I didn't have the time to dedicate. Um, all of those things. And then you look at, like, how much it's gonna cost to feed the dog.
Mm.
So I think all those things do come into play. And what you think your life's gonna look like with that dog, and kinda, try to shape it around that. So, yeah.
Right,
And, consider, and like I said, we considered other breeds too. We went to dog shows. We looked at Newfies. We looked at, again, English Mastiffs. I looked at all kinds of other dogs before we got our Corso,
yeah,
just to be sure that that's the breed we wanted. Don't get a dog on a whim and then figure it out. Don't do that.
right.
That's my advice. Don't go get a dog. "Oh, look, honey, we brought a dog home."
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Do
Mm.
not do that. When you are pregnant with a baby, you have 9 months to get ready. Give yourself that much time before you get a dog,
Yep,
at least.
yep,
You know, Figure it
yep.
out. Get
100%
some
agree.
mentorship and understand, when we're talking about purebred dogs, that's a big deal too. Understand the breeders, understand what you're getting into, all the things. Don't just go get some random dog and figure it out.
Mm-mm.
'Cause
And
you are not gonna be happy later on, and a puppy will make you second guess all of your life choices, even when you really wanted that puppy. Because you're gonna have the puppy blues midway through training, and you think, "What in the heck did I do?" I did a post about this when Baymax was about 5 months old. I'm like, "Listen, you will cry sometimes because these puppies have teeth, and they're teething, and they're
mm,
biting, and they're not listening, and,
mm,
and you're not supposed to be emotional, and you're tired, and so you don't figure it out. Don't just
yeah,
figure it out.
yeah.
Have a plan. Have a
Have a
plan,
plan
have
and
backup,
ask questions. Yeah.
have some friends that can say, "It's okay." I have a
Right.
friend with a collie right now. The collie's 6 months old. She's like, I wanna take him back." I was like, "Don't do it. Take a deep breath. You want me to walk
Mhm,
your dog for you today?" Like,
mm.
because you will second guess things, but, just make sure you're prepared for all of those things.
Exactly,
I think
exactly.
that's a good question too. That's my biggest advice. Don't just go get a dog on a whim.
No,
Don't.
don't do it.
Don't
Don't
care
do
if
it.
you know the
Yeah.
breed or not. Don't go get one on a whim.
Take your time. Please
And
take
make
your
sure everybody in the household agrees. Because if you are just coming home and your spouse or your family members are completely against that animal, especially a large dog, there's going to be some issues, and those dogs can tell. There can't be a lot of tension around that. So I think that's a big important thing too, because I had to make sure my husband was completely on board,
right.
too, for Baymax, and understood the context of the dog we're getting, and understood what I wanted the life to look like with the dog. And so that was a big part too, and that probably took a couple of years for us to say, "Okay, well, I think now is the time."
Gotcha, gotcha.
Mhm.
Well, Pam, I appreciate you coming, um, and sharing your perspectives. Good conversation. Where do everybody find you?
They can find me on Instagram if they want. You can look at for Baymax, the Cane Corso, or my name, Pamela Greshock. Um, I think it's Pamela Greshock Fitness, I think.
Okay.
Or Facebook. Baymax has a YouTube, and then I am the co-host of the Corso Academy with
You
Tony
are.
Scandy.
She's
So
everywhere, y'all. She's
Mhm.
everywhere.
So Whitney and I, Whitney Whitaker of Milligan Valley,
Mhm.
got to pull Tony Scandy online. This is why I'm her Malinois friend, because she's like, "Oh, I wanna do it, I wanna do it." And I'm like, "Well, guess what? We're doing it."
Mhm.
So, yep, so we're there in the Corso Academy, and, that's how we are all friends with Joe, right?
Yep. You own it. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, you
Well,
can find me all those places. I would say sorry for talking so much, but that's gift of gab. That's what I do.
yeah. Hey. And what about if people want to reach you for consultations on or advice on just personal fitness,
You would just message
physical
me on
fitness?
Instagram.
Okay.
Yep, on Instagram or Facebook, either place, and I'm always happy to help or guide you to wherever, I see fit because I'm not everybody's coach either.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people in the industry. Grew up in the fitness space and I can lead you to the right space for sure. And I am so happy to do that because I think everybody deserves to feel well.
That's right. And
Mhm.
ask her and ask for a discount code NWA. I'm just kidding.
I got you. I got you.
Okay, Pam. Hey, I appreciate it. Good to
Yes,
have
thank
you
you
here.
so much for having me on. It was a blast. We love your show so much.
I thank you so much. We'll see you when we
All
see
right.
you. All right.
Step into the realm of canine wisdom with our podcast, NWA Connie Corso, where we interview dog men and women from around the globe. Discover their talents and insights on breeding, training, nutrition, and the rich history of dogs. Tune in to the most underrated yet influential dog podcast on social media. Your journey into the dog world starts here.